Hi, Sean.
I talked to you yesterday.
Good. You are fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes.
A great host. Show is ready to listen to his show.
Absolutely, 95.5.
One mic. All I need is one mic. That's all I need.
Hey, Shelley Winter Show, live, local, topical, and relevant. And in the studio with me is my good friend. He is the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia. He is running for governor. He's in the studio with me, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. How are you, my friend?
I'm great, Shelley. Merry Christmas, and it's good to be with you here.
Merry
tonight.
Christmas to you, too. Tomorrow, a big hearing. Wanted to get you in to talk about this hearing tomorrow. There's an article, Fani Willis basically said Christmas is coming early.
Right.
So I want to ask you, what's going on? What is the hearing about?
Well, the hearing is about the committee we put together to form and look at how tax dollars were used during her 4-year, what I call a complete circus or charade or whatever you want to call it. We've never gotten any answers about who was involved with it, how much money was spent on it, and really, there was such poor coverage on it as far as through the media. We wanted to get to the bottom and put in parameters to keep it from happening again, which I think was a politically motivated effort on her part.
I think it's obvious that it was politically motivated. Let me ask you this. When you say Fulton County tax dollars, that was her budget she spent. Even if she was in cahoots with the White House, it was still Fulton County's budget?
Yeah, it was Fulton. We assumed it was Fulton County's budget. You know, we know there's tens of millions of dollars that was spent. There was all kinds of criminal activity that could have been prosecuted with those dollars that didn't get prosecuted. There were people who were stuck in jails that didn't get due process because of all the time and effort that her and her office spent on that on that committee. And so, therefore, we want to get to the bottom of that because Fulton County taxpayers are Georgia taxpayers, number one, and also number two. We can't have people who are elected officials that use those positions for their own political gain and taking and going after innocent people and trying to ruin their lives, really.
And one thing that occurred to me while you were talking, and I never thought of this until now, the people that were hung out to dry in jail having to wait for their own trials were impacted as well. And at the same time that you guys were being politically, targeted, the jails were filling up, and there was a problem with Rice Street. So all of this gets tied in together. Will the Senate look at that tomorrow?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, we've had a hard time getting her in. She's fought the subpoena. Actually, the Senate is having to step up and do this because, quite frankly, our Attorney General, who has the jurisdiction to do it, has refused to do anything about it. So we want to get to the bottom of it because, like I said, now that it's been dismissed, those 15 or 16 defendants can now actually go and seek to get their money back for their legal fees. So you're looking at
Does that come from Fulton County as well?
That will come from Fulton County as well.
Wow.
So it's a complete lack of respect for the process, and it's also a complete lack of respect for the taxpaying citizens of the county.
What happens after tomorrow? Let's say we find stuff out. Can there be criminal prosecution of D.A. Willis or her office?
The Senate doesn't have that authority to do that. But we will have, once we have questions answered, we might want to talk to other members of her team after this. If some things don't get answered, we might want to talk to all those involved from outside her office as well. But the main focus is, number one, we want to prevent this from happening. We have a fiduciary responsibility as elected officials, have a constitutional responsibility because some of our state budget does go towards Fulton County, and we want to prevent future antics like what went on in Fulton County for 3 years happening again, and therefore hopefully we'll get the answers we want, and then legislation will come to try to prevent those from happening.
That's what I was going to ask. What does that type of legislation look like? How do you envision that? What do you envision that looking like?
Well, I mean, obviously, we're going to have a lot of questions answered first,
Gotcha.
but we do know that a misuse of funds went on because obviously you had, in fact, she came after me, Shelley. They didn't indict me because I was the first one to beat her in court, but they came after me, and I won't have the ability to go and retrieve those funds that I had to spend to defend myself. But those folks who were wrongfully accused. And we know they're wrongfully accused because you had an independent individual in Pete Scandalakis. He looked at all the cases and threw it out on its face, you know. And so, therefore, we want to find out how much money was spent, and we want to find out how it was spent and who was involved in orchestrating it.
You mentioned the Attorney General happens to be your opponent in a primary. Why do you think he hasn't gotten involved? Because this should be right his alley. This should be what he does as Attorney General.
It's the only one that has the jurisdiction to do this right now.
When you say that, what do you mean the only one?
Him being the chief law enforcement officer of the state. And if there's a wrong being done to individuals, he has the ability to step in and at least question it, but it just as an elected constitutional officer, and over that area of his is his preview. It puts him right directly involved with it, and why he hadn't engaged on this issue, I don't know. Do
you think it's political?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if he's afraid. I don't know if he's afraid of the DA of Fulton County or what it is, or maybe he didn't like the people who were involved.
So as a talk radio host, let me say this.
Yeah.
That's my soundbite right there. That's my soundbite. I don't know if he's afraid of the Fulton County DA. Clip that magic mic, please, my man.
Right. Yeah.
Let's move on. So a couple weeks ago, I'm watching football, I think during Thanksgiving around that time. Watching football every weekend, as you are. We're both big football fans.
Right.
And I'm seeing these ads, these attack ads. I don't know who they're from, but they're basically calling you a Nepo baby, trust fund baby. What do you think of those ads? First of all, what do you think of those ads? How do you respond to those ads?
Well, I mean, they're just fabricated trash, and it's a perfect example of why you can't get good folks to be in politics. I mean, because when you try to do everything the right way and you get attacked because but people who are running against you or don't like you would rather try to tear you down and instead of trying to win on the issues. And I'll just tell you, when I'm going around the state, I never bring up my opponents. I talk about the cost of living. I talk about trying to lower people's taxes, both the income and the property taxes, and gas and groceries and public safety and educational opportunities. All those things are things that people actually care about. What's going on with the stuff is being run on me right now. Number one, it's all trash, fabricated. None of it's true, and it's also a sign of political consultants getting rich off these ads.
Who do you think is behind it? Because
that's a great question.
Greg Bluestein, who's he and I run neck and neck as top politic guys in Georgia. He can't find out who's behind it.
Yeah, so it's somebody who's trying to cover their tracks right now, which is another reason why you should question it. I mean, if you don't have the guts to come out here and call out somebody, if you think they're using their office for political gain, then like I said, put your name to it, kind of thing. But in fact, they want to be anonymous, spend a lot of money, and create a lot of lies about myself and my family. And anyways, that's unfortunate. But I'm going to continue to go around the state and sell talk to the people and sell the people on me and what I've done and accomplished as lieutenant governor and as a state senator and a business person. So
the session starts up. Coming up, I think Wild Hog Dinner is the 5th or 6th that weekend, and you guys start that Monday.
Right.
What are the priorities? There's a great article in one of the final print editions of the AJC about the governor's priorities as lieutenant governor and also candidate for governor. Sure. What are your priorities with this session?
Well, obviously, the number one thing we're responsible for is balancing the budget and looking at ways of how and now more than ever you got to look at ways of affordability is at the forefront, and so we need to be looking at ways of how to run our government more efficient and more cost efficient and look at ways of how we can help individual business owners and individual people with the cost of living right now, and that's why we've continued to be focused on, last few years we've lowered our state income tax, we've given out rebates of up to $2 billion to the public here, and
which is their money, giving it back to them.
That's right. And we've fought to try to curb insurance costs. Last year when we did our tort reform, trying to lessen the burden on individuals. And I'm always one of those people who likes to roll back regulatory guidelines and things of that nature, which costs people time and money as well. So
is tort reform dead? Because I've been kind of. I've been questioning the tort reform. Where are we with tort reform? Is it over? Are we? Will there be anything more done with it?
We passed the measure last year, and we're seeing. We were having a mass exodus of insurance companies that were leaving the state. Now we seems like we stopped the hemorrhaging on that, and it seems like companies are starting to change their rate factors right now.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll issue that. But that's something you always got to be looking at. You got to be looking at the insurance carriers. You got to be looking at the healthcare providers, as well as how the civil justice system is working as well. Because in the middle of all that, it's the consumers who are getting squeezed, and you can't ignore it for 20 years. You got to be constantly putting tension on all three of those industries to make sure that it doesn't get out of whack for the consumers, which is you and I.
We're in the studio with Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, also candidate for governor. Session's about to start. Big hearing tomorrow with DA Fani Willis. That's what he was here to talk about, but I had some other questions. I've been critical of President Trump, and I want to be clear, the policies I agree with, some of the implementation of some of the policies I agree with, I've been critical of. You've been endorsed by President Trump. Right. Do you feel that there's too much tension with some of the races that we've lost recently? Do you think that might hurt you, or what are your feelings on your endorsement by President Trump?
No, I'm proud to have the endorsement by the president. I mean, obviously, I was the first elected officials way back in 2016 here in Georgia that endorsed him when the first time he ran for president, and it was because I thought we needed a business person that went up there and flipped the table on the system. Quite frankly, the way of doing business in D.C. Has gotten us into this multi-trillion-dollar deficit, and I thought we needed somebody like him, and so I'm proud to continue to support him. I am obviously, as I'm sitting here focused on the governor's race, when you see two statewide races that you lose with the PSC race. The turnout is what really disappoints you, is looking at it from afar, but it also motivates you, saying we've got to get people engaged, and we've got to get out here and really pound the pavement more so than
How do you get people engaged? Just meeting more of them? Is it the messaging? What do you think it is to get us back engaged?
Yeah, I mean, obviously. I think right now you're in a lull right now. This is not uncommon. We've had Thanksgiving, you've got Christmas, you got New Year's.
Right.
Majority of people, politics is not on their mind, and it's an off year, quite frankly. Usually, a lot of people are engaged on presidential and sheriff races. That's what
Right.
drives people out. And so we are going to be in an off year. However, as time gets closer you'll have May will be your primaries, and November obviously will be your general election. As time gets closer, people will get more engaged. But you also have to be able to illustrate, number one, here in the state of Georgia, we can show them what we've done through great leadership that we've had through Governor Kemp, Governor Deal, and a legislative body that has been common sense conservatives, I like to say. We have a $16 billion surplus. We've lowered taxes every year for the last 8 years that Governor Kemp's been in office. We've had economic strides here where the state is growing, and there's a lot of economic opportunity here in the state of Georgia. So we have a good message to sell here in the state of Georgia And we've got to be able to do that, because obviously when people turn on the news and look at what's going on the national scene, it can turn your stomach. So we got to tell people and illustrate to people that, just because you see what's going on in D.C. doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going on here in Georgia.
Make the race local. Make the race all about Georgia.
You always want to make it local, because that's where we win. If you make it about Georgia, and if you make it about the successes that we've had for the last decade, then we win. And because we've been in charge. We've carried the mantle right here, and we need to talk about in the time frame that we've been here, the successes we've had. We hadn't been perfect. There's always room for improvement, but that's life, Right. There's always, it doesn't matter if you're talking about marriage, church, or business, or government. There's room for improvement in each and every one of those things. And it's back to my old buddy Lou Holtz used to say, you either growing or dying, in business and life and government. So you got to continue to grow. You got to continue to try to fine tune what you're doing, and you got to sell that to the public.
Before I let you go, and I appreciate your time. Before I let you go, tomorrow's the hearing. One, will you be in the room tomorrow, and will you be asking any questions?
I'm there first thing in the morning. I'm not asking any questions because it is a Senate panel.
Gotcha.
Obviously, I'm not in the state Senate anymore. I'm Lieutenant Governor, but I do have some interviews prior to the committee, and then I have some obligations down in South Georgia after that. But I'll be watching, and I'll be paying attention, and then we'll determine after tomorrow's hearing whether or not there's more questions that need to be asked. And like I said, this is something that's been ongoing for quite some time, and because her and her lawyers have been fighting the subpoena, and we finally had a court side with us and say that we do have the right to speak to her about this.
Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, I appreciate you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Where can people reach out to you?
Well, you go to BurtJonesForGA.com, BurtJonesForGA.com. That's obviously my campaign, and we're on Facebook and Twitter and all those social media outlets that you probably know a lot more about than I do, But so we're there, and obviously we're running hard and getting good feedback all over the state. Feel really good about our chances come May and then in November. But we need folks to be engaged and realize what's going on, because at the end of the day, these are Georgia elections, and so we need to be talking about the successes we've had here in the state of Georgia, which is a lot to brag about when you break it down.
My brother, appreciate you being in the studio.
Shelley
Winter Show. We'll be right back. Right, Magic Mike? We got Christmas music all night long. 44872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk.